Hello and welcome to Global Business. I am Imewere Uhemokai. Today's show will cover a wide range of issues, including the Nigerian electricity sector, the oil and gas industry, and much more. You may remember that President Muhammadu Buhari approved the constitutional amendment allowing states, among other things, to license, generate, transmit, and distribute energy, which means he removed it from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, the issue of power. However, some analysts argue that allowing states to produce their own electricity is a bad idea, while others contend that this is the president's best move so far. We'll discuss more on this issue on Talking Point segment. We'll have a guest who has over 40 years of technical, professional, and academic experience. He'll be analyzing the electricity decentralization, economics of oil and gas industry, and the global oil and gas economy. But first, let's join Victor Anigo Nomsu on business trends.
As of December 2022, more than 313,000 micro, small, and medium-sized businesses had received funding from the Development Bank of Nigeria, totaling over 631 billion naira. This is according to the Managing Director, Dr. Tony Okpanachi. Okpanachi says 67% of the recipients of DBN money over the course of 5 years were women, and 27% were young people, with well over 250,000 employments already generated. Only 482 billion naira was distributed in 2021, showing a 31% increase. Over 26,000 bread factories in Nigeria have closed down in the last 4 years, according to Emmanuel Onuora, president of the Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria. He claimed that the industry's job losses are primarily due to the crippling of the cost of producing bread. He also cited the 30% wheat levy, the 15% wheat development levy, and the 15% duty tax as examples of government taxes that is responsible for the industry's losses. He claims that numerous letters from the industry players requesting the removal of the outdated 15% development fee, which has no further utility, has fallen on deaf ears of the Nigerian government. Now in other news, the British American Tobacco agrees to settle US government to resolve investigations into the cigarette manufacturer's activities in North Korea by paying $635.2 million. Regarding its business operations in North Korea from 2007 to 2017, the UK company negotiated a deferred prosecution deal with the US Department of Justice and a civil arrangement with the US Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Asset Control, and all this was according to a statement released by BAT. Now in China, as a result of weak global demand, China's cabinet announces a strategy to stabilize the country's crucial trade industry, which includes encouraging the export of cars and easing visa requirements for foreign business people. The action was taken following repeated warning from Chinese officials about a dire and challenging scenario for the development of international trade, as exporters reported a lack of orders, putting pressure on policymakers to support a sector that is essential to economic growth and employs around 180 million people. The State Council says that Chinese banks and their overseas branches were urged to provide financial support to automakers in order to aid the latter's expansion, as the outbound shipping of electric vehicles prompted an unexpected spike in exports in March. And that's it on Business Trends. I am Victor Anigo Nomsu.
Thank you, Victor. Meanwhile, there was a message circulating about a week ago asking people to register for the palliative. It was on WhatsApp and different places, giving them a link to register. Please disregard that message. It's fake and the originators are scammers. Please disregard. Moving on now, let's join Rachel, who is on the street where she is speaking with small business owners about the impact of social media on their businesses. You know, I find this topic very interesting because of a truth. Social media has helped so many businesses. But there's a controversy. Some people are saying social media only favors big businesses. Rachel, let's talk about social media and its impact on small business owners.
Thank you, Imewere. Talking about social media and its impact on small businesses. Like you said, it's a very interesting topic, but I think most Nigerians aren't ready to talk about it. Many people say social media only impacts the big businesses. But again, some people are saying it even favors the small businesses more. Quite controversial there. I'm here on the street and I'm going to be speaking with small business owners. We're going to be hearing directly from them how social media has impacted their businesses.
I belongs to WhatsApp. And it has really helped my business. Through status, if I want to post something, I post it through my status. At least people will start viewing it. From there, they'll be calling me on phone, asking whether I have this or the other one.
But based on what I heard or something like that, at least it helped. But for a long time, I have not been on social media. But I think that when I was on social media, at least it helps me.
Social media has really impacted us. Like we are operating with our Instagram, and you see, like most people, most of our customers, if they come, they would like to know our Instagram page so that they will be checking the latest. You know, like now in this our time that we are now in this century, you will see most people they come, they would like to know the latest. So most people they like to stay at home and check through social media. But just that one problem with Facebook is that once you posted something on Facebook, you posted your product on Facebook, before you know, scammers they will now copy it and be scamming people. They will pretend, or maybe they will be as if there is the owner of the product that is selling, not knowing it's not, it's scammers. So you see that most times many people are complaining if they posted something, before you know that they will now copy it and do and be scamming people. So you that you are genuine, if you posted your own, before you know that people will be complaining that this one, they would like to spoil another person's business.
Social media is really impactful on businesses generally, but it all depends on how you use your space. Well, before we join Imewere in the studio, let's unveil our business celeb of the week. So how did you start and why did you start Akara business?
Yeah, you know, as a fresh university graduate, looking for what to do to enhance living, I graduated from prestigious University of Nsukka, UNN, and then I think I started Akara during my NYC period in Bayelsa State.
Oh, you started frying Akara in Bayelsa State?
Yes, as a copper.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and it was due to an urge of me being curious of what to do after NYC, you know. I just need to dabble into something that, okay, let me start Akara business. Anyway, I was formerly a makeup artist, you know.
You were formerly a makeup artist.
Yeah.
And then you ventured into Akara business.
Yes, then I was a beautician. I mix hair.
Wow.
I tie gele, I do
Really?
makeup,
Wow.
and then, well, you know, COVID took those things away from me, and I need to divert to something else because of the situation at hand then. And then that was how I found myself frying Akara. You know.
I'm curious, you know, a young graduate frying Akara.
Yeah.
How did you learn? Like, who taught you?
I actually didn't learn how to fry Akara. It was this an online tutorial on YouTube.
Your branding, the packaging and everything, how did you come about it?
Yeah, I started with ordinary nylon, selling with leather when I was in Bayelsa. You know, later after my NYC coming down to Abuja, I started thinking this Abuja, everything comes with packaging, you know. So what can I do to package my own akara? And not that, not the packaging. What can I do to make it a brand, you know, that will go, you know, that will travel far and people will say, okay, what do you want? Akara. When you say akara, akara, you have so many akara, but specifically akara ayo, you know, that's different, and that's what makes it a brand. You know, I was actually looking for how I can actually turn the akara business to a brand, and to God be the glory, I was able to achieve that.
You know, you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, of course.
Now, if you get an offer, maybe from a government organization or from a bigger organization where they want to pay you huge, would you leave Akara business to go into?
I actually don't want to use akara business. I've made up my mind that I'm not going to use akara business as a stopgap mayor, because if I'm doing that, if I'm taking a different offer now that is distinct from akara business, shows me going into akara business will look as if it was a stopgap mayor for me. But no, I have a plan. I actually want to take the akara business outside the shores of Nigeria, not even here in Nigeria.
You
So
want to take Akara business
yes,
outside Nigeria?
yes, outside Nigeria. So I actually want to create a very big brand that will go global. You understand? So for me to leave my dream and start working for someone else, it doesn't make sense.
So you're saying you can't leave this business for even a bigger one?
If I have opportunity to travel out of the country now, wherever I go to today, I want to sell akara.
Wow.
You know, because I have because it has come to my understanding that even the Western people loves the akara, because I have like 3-4 customers that came from US, UK, they work here and they patronize the akara and they love it. It is good to see yourself being financially free, right? Because I've never seen anybody who wants to go to school and come back to become poor. Everybody wants to actually make money. You understand? So the essence of going to school is to become somebody, of course, Abby. And then the essence of doing business too is to become somebody. I feel it is even better to work for yourself. I always tell people that the effort you put in place for 35 good years to work for government or for any private organization, if you put that half of that same effort to work for yourself for 35 years, of course, you'll be bigger than your peers.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Someone once said, there might not be enough jobs in Nigeria, but there are so many works to do. I always tell people, graduate or not, you can start up something on your own, no matter how small, and just watch it grow. Today on Talking Point, we have Professor Omoumi Iledare. He has over 40 years of experience in the oil and gas sector. He's an expert in upstream petroleum economics and policy, international petroleum and fiscal system economics, and geopolitics and economics of oil and gas resources and supply. Wonderful resume, you will say. I had a talk with him, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview. Thank you very much for joining us on Talking Point. And today, like we told you earlier, we'll be talking with a very erudite professor, someone who has seen it all, and he may not know it all, but he does have some form of knowledge or what direction we should go in the energy sector. And we'll be talking to him on various issues, looking at electricity and look at oil and gas, which is also his forte. Now, Professor Omoumi Iledare is our guest for today. He is a former director of the Energy Institute at the University of Port Harcourt, a lecturer from the academic, and also one who has been a public servant. Professor, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Now, we'll start with electricity. So quite recently, the federal government removed the powers of electricity generation and distribution from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, which of course gives the powers to the states to be able to generate and distribute electricity. So my question is, do you think that the states have the capacity to be able to do this generation and distribution? But first, tell us, what do you think about that law?
Again, thank you for the opportunity to share with you some of this knowledge for public consumption. I just want to say that you are not liable for whatever I say, in my personal opinion, and they're not necessarily written in gold, but they are intellectual opinion on some of the things that we want to talk about today. First, I think it is commendable that provision in the Constitution with respect to the concurrent list, not allowing states to generate, distribute electricity where there's a national grid. But now he has removed the not to make it open for state to participate in electric power generation and distribution and transmission, whether there's a national grid or not. So let us commend the president. I think I've said it before. You can add it up to the Petroleum Industry Act, which he also signed. With respect to your second question, which is whether the state has the capacity to really use that opportunity to be independent of the central government with respect to power in their state, it's a dynamic thing. Once they start well and not rush into it, it's going to get better. I wish they are taking the advantage of that provision before now that actually allowed them to do power distribution and generation in areas where you do not have grid. They didn't do anything. So apart from Lagos State, which probably can, on an immediate effect, remembering that when Tinubu was in power, there was this arrangement with, what's the name of that called? Enron. So, but with time, they can really take advantage of this to even make themselves competitive with respect to getting companies to come to the state to do business because energy is available. My major fear is the NEPA syndrome, so that state will not now think that because of this they can go and be setting up power companies. That would be a wrong application of that concurrent list. They would just run into the same problem that NEPA had. If you now think in terms of having to own a power company as a state, where they can do a typical joint venture or private, public-private partnership. They should not look at power sector from a revenue point of view. If you invest in the energy sector, the return on investment is tied to a long-term performance, not an annual basis of revenue generation. So nobody should invest in the power sector on the basis of getting revenue. That's some of the mistakes the disco investors made. It should not be about revenue generating, but it should be in terms of investment performance. Investment in the oil and gas and power sector is a long-term phenomenon, and you must be such that you can wait before you begin to get reward. If you are going to invest because you want to get monetary benefit right away, and that's some of the reasons why we've run into trouble. In the first few years, it's an investment upon investment upon investment until your cumulative net revenue can cover your costs and you begin to have cash surplus.
Okay, so let's now talk about the Petroleum Industry Act, which I know you're quite vast with. Many people believe that the Petroleum Industry Act, which was signed by this government, has not become very effective because all factors to make it effective have not been in place. Do you think so? Do you agree with this school of thought?
But to me, I don't think you can depend on one energy source in order to optimize value that energy system has to offer. I would suggest a situation in which you even have cooperation. Some states may have hydropower source, others may have natural gas power source, and others may have even coal. If you apply the right technology to minimize emission, it should be what I call an energy mix strategy. And that's why the state must really have a strategic plan. And political expediency must not be the driving force with respect to this application of this new amendment to the Constitution. So it's going to be an energy mix strategy, which one has a comparative advantage. And that's some of the things that people made a mistake about in those days when the federal government was trying to power community, and they created this rural electrification board. But you find out that people are just too sentimental to being on the national grid. But what you should be sentimental about is whether you have 24 hours light. How you get it is inconsequential as long as the cost efficiency is to your advantage. And that's where the energy mix strategy becomes important. Originally, what I thought the government would have done when we were advocating decentralization of the power sector was to carve what I call a regionalized market. Because each region is peculiar, and each region's per capita income is different. And so you cannot have a pricing that is generalized. And then, because you are going to minimize the movement of power from the source to the end user, you can minimize costs. And that's where the regionalized market can work. In fact, if I'm advising the states, like if you go to Southeast, for example, Southeast is like a palm of a hand. The distance from one state to the other is not a lot. They can begin to cooperate, even if it is not political cooperation. There can be economic cooperation. The same thing with Southwest, North Central, Northwest. That was what I was thinking before this. I was thinking of a decentralized power sector with regional intention.
Now, let's talk about another controversial issue, which is fuel subsidy. Some people believe that fuel subsidy is one of the factors that have not been put in place. This government, even before it became a government, had promised to remove the fuel subsidy. And they didn't. They missed it. Now they have said they are going to remove it before the end of this year. We are not even sure if it is this administration or the next administration that's going to remove it. We know that it's the same party that's going to be there. So some people say that this is one of the factors why the Petroleum Industry Act has not become very effective, the removal of fuel subsidy. Do you agree with that? And really, what is the way forward for this fuel subsidy? That's if you agree that fuel subsidy should be removed.
Thank you again. I've been on this fuel subsidy debate since 2012. The opportunity was there in 2012 for it to have not been in the book. And then it was returned. And then 2016, the opportunity was there for Kachiku when the price of oil collapsed. And the price of petrol all over the world was actually below $1. And then we advised the minister not to set any price. When they put it, I think it was 142. That would have been a good opportunity to remove, because under the Petroleum Act of 1969, the price of petroleum is set by the Minister of Petroleum. Unfortunately, politics most of the time trumps economics. Because all of this debate is political expediency that is driving it. Even the labor union understands that to a large extent, petroleum subsidy in Nigeria has more or less enhanced what I call the social welfare loss. Because it is a transfer payment. But that payment in itself does not get to the consumers. They may think they are benefiting by what they pay on the pump, but it is a Pareto optimality issue. It is impossible to enjoy petroleum subsidy without sacrificing good education, good roads, good medical services, good infrastructure development. Because we are spending 1 trillion naira every year over the last 10 years to make sure the price of petrol or PMS is low. That amount of money is not generated by the multiplier effect of a low PMS to take care of the money you are not spending on the other sector. I think this is where public education comes in. And it's not that we have not tried. I can remember how many times we've tried to educate the public with respect to this petroleum subsidy. It is more or less riding at the back of a tiger. When you come down, the tiger will consume you. That's exactly what's happening.
Thank you very much, Professor Omomi Iledare. We are not done with this discussion because we know we will not be able to talk about all the issues in one swoop. So we're breaking this into parts. Join us next week for the part 2 of my discussions with Professor Omomi Iledare. It's been very insightful so far. Please do watch out. That's it on Global Business for today. Remember to join us again next week and follow us on our YouTube to watch a repeat of Global Business. That's if you missed it now. Our handle is @GlobalBusinessNigeria. That's @GlobalBusinessNigeria. Global Business is proudly brought to you by Cinema Productions. I am Imewari Uhemokai, and it's always nice doing it.